there is informal, there's formal education. What do you believe that education is? So let's take it that notch higher. Let's see. Because if we're looking at Nigeria statistically, Nigeria is one of the top 50 countries who has the most out of school students in the world. So, as a nation, and then if you bring it down to Africa, of all the global investment in education. For instance, if you go to the UK, the UK's, I think it's basketball now, or their football and education, that's revenue that they get from universities, etc., are almost at par. So the revenue that they generate as a country in the United Kingdom and from either basketball or football is almost at par. But when you come into Africa, the question is, how many people are flying into Africa to study, right? So these are some of the thought-provoking notions that have come to mind, right, as we start to look at the thematic area of education under Tech for Good Africa today. So we do have seasoned speakers. We have Ruth Ekwere and we have Daniel Idiare, who are both going to be taking us through this journey. And when we work this journey together, I would want us to have at the back of our minds that as we use tech for good, even in Africa, it is essential that we don't audit, so to say, because the tech that we are implementing also needs to be cascaded. So there are things that we've had handed down from generation to generation, and that in itself is education, right? So without further ado, we're going to, just one moment, please, read the bio of our speaker number one, who is Daniel Idiare, so that we can invite him to take us into this journey of education as a thematic area under using Tech for Good Africa in this Enter All into Tech for Good. So just one moment, I'm going to bring that up just now. Welcome, Kamal. Welcome, Titi Bello. Welcome, Emmanuel. We've had a bit of rounds on welcomes, so I just saw you pop up. Okay, so we have it on the screen. Thank you so much. So our first speaker today is Daniel Idiare. He's the CEO of VersityScape, an AI-powered platform revolutionizing group and cohort-based learning. He has a mission to launch over 5,000 high-impact academies in the next 3 years. VersityScape is equipping Africa's workforce, all 1 point something billion of us, for critical sectors like healthcare, business, creative art, renewable energy, and logistics. As a data-driven entrepreneur with experience across different verticals, Daniel's long-term mission is to build the infrastructure for African entrepreneurship, talent acceleration, and scalable career opportunities for 1 million plus young Africans in the coming decade. So let's make welcome Daniel Idiare. Let's give him our fire emojis in the chat as we pass it on to Daniel to take it away for today's session. Welcome, Daniel. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Olamide. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for that warm introduction. And really grateful that we're creating a space like this where we can, discuss exactly how to use tech for good, especially in education, which is something that I'm extremely passionate about. So I sent a request to share my screen. I want to share my screen so that I can, okay, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to be talking about education specifically today and why it is exactly important. Please just let me know if you can see what I'm sharing, right? So why education is important, especially when it comes to nation building, especially when it comes to growing a country like Nigeria. Thank you very much. And overall Africa, because this is tech for good. It's not limited to our small space or wherever we are. It is something that we need to think about on a very global level. And this is something that should inspire every single one of us to begin to think of ways to use technology to shape the future of education. And if I'm able to convince every one single person here that that's exactly what we should be doing, especially for education. If I can get you to prioritize education, I think I would have done a good job today. So just follow me very closely, pay attention. I might ask questions from time to time. I believe I'll be getting responses in the chat. But if you also want to speak up, I think that is fine too. So let's watch this. I think I should be able to share audio, but let's get started. Can you hear the audio? There audio on the video.
No.
No. Yeah.
There's no audio. Okay. I might just go ahead to just give me a second. Share sound. Sure. Okay. So how about now?
So I have my handy little spaceship here, and as you can see, that is Singapore in 1965. It's a tiny island nation. It was unexpectedly expelled from Malaysia. It had virtually no resources, no natural wealth, no standing army, and the unemployment there was through the roof. At that time, it was even poorer than India. Most experts believed this country would fail.
Calculating quantum coordinates.
But instead, as you can see, it evolved into one of the wealthiest nations on earth within a single generation.
This was a mud flat swamp. Today, this is a modern city.
Founding father Lee Kuan Yew transformed the country from poverty to prosperity in a single generation by focusing on its human resources. Lou May says the government has always invested heavily in education.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, this is the time when I ask you, okay, so what did we think was the most crucial factor for the development of Singapore? And then we begin to guess, but it has already given us the answer. Again, we see education, human resources. Okay, do we have any other responses? So I know that there were some other things that they invested in. They brought in a lot of companies, right? That were foreign companies to set up in the country. And of course, the human capital development was also very strong. So again, everything that you can, so we've talked about human capital development, for example, we've talked about some things, right? But anything that you can say, okay, led to the development of Singapore can always be attributed back to education, right? Because even if you want to develop via, say, for example, trade or oil and gas, there is some level of education that has to go into that process to produce people who are capable of giving some form of economic output, right? And that's why I want to talk about education specifically from the lens of how we can shape the future of learning. There's so many advantages that we have today that were not available to Singapore then, and yet they were able to do a lot of things in just within the space of 40 years, within one single generation. And we have a lot more advantage today. And that's why I want to show us that you look at Nigeria today, sure, we are a larger population, sure, we are we have more mouths to feed. But I can argue that Singapore of that time had even way less resources. They didn't have oil like we do today, even though, again, we've spent a lot of our money over the last few years, and we've had politicians do a lot of crazy things. But I want to show you that there's still something that you can do today that will impact wherever you are. So whether it's the small circle that you've created for yourself, or if it's the whole of Africa at large. And I'll start by saying this: GDP is a function of activity, right? So whenever you look at any economic space, one of the things I always say is that GDP is a function of activity, and this activity will always start with education. Because how do you get people to begin to carry out certain actions? You need to educate them. You need to give them the skills that are required. And when we say education when we're asking the question of whether or not education is a scam, I want us to, broaden our horizon. We're not just talking about, let's say, tertiary or university education, because even today, we would also see how maybe we need to expand beyond that. But education is basically educating yourself, right? It is learning a skill. It is learning with an intent to produce a specific result, right? So that's one of the things that we will take a look at today. So again, just to reiterate, education leads to more economic activity, which leads to better GDP growth, which again should lead to better quality of life for most people. Again, one of the things that economic activity will do for people is that it gives you the capacity to choose, right? So if you see somebody who has no money, has no resources, one of the things that you see is that anything that they get, they appreciate, because why? They don't have resources, they don't have options. And so when you educate somebody, you give them the chance to create economic output, and the economic output they've created, which they earn money for in the first place, would also now give them the opportunity to decide where to spend that money. So let's say, for example, you are in Nigeria as a Nigerian, you get educated and you make money. Now you can choose to stay in Nigeria and spend that money or move elsewhere. And a lot of countries are beginning to realize this. That's why most countries now position as a global talent hub. If you take a look at the likes of the UK, for example, the repositioning, Dubai, they want to attract the best people into their country, because now more and more people are having economic the ability to choose what their realities are, because there's now more money in the space, right? So again, this is Singapore. This was Singapore in 1965. That's just how many years from now, maybe when Nigeria gained independence. Does this remind you of any place today? I mean, at least you can imagine somewhere in Nigeria that at least looks like this today, right? This was it in 1965. I'm sure if you were thrown into some random village in Singapore, somebody said Ushodi, right? So if you were thrown into this place in Singapore many years back, you would be wondering, how can a country like this ever make it? Would it be possible? But in 2025, we know that the reality is different. And that's because somebody woke up and said, we're going to take decisive steps, right? And we are going to focus on that. So a lot of things they did: education, vocational training. They also had a lot of course, economic strategy. So nothing works in a vacuum. There are some of these things that we're already beginning to nail today, especially in Nigeria. But again, it's not a one-man's effort. But people need to accept it, because now, more than ever, we're in a democracy. There were some things that Lee Kuan Yew at the time did that were not very popular options, right? Like trying to get multinationals to come and set up in the country. You're killing local business. But no, all he was doing was creating competition, and people were able to get jobs in larger companies. So again, we would need to participate in all of this, right? So another country, you might say that Singapore is just about how many million people? Not as much as Nigeria. But let's take a look at another use case, India. India has the largest population in the world today. India in 1950 looked like this. I mean, of course, there was some history. And again, if I mention this, you can probably picture a place in Nigeria that maybe kind of looks like this. Maybe not this crowded. I can't remember seeing any place in Nigeria this crowded. But now I know India has not fixed all its problems as of today, because again, very huge and large population. But they have a growing economy. They are the largest export of talent, especially to the US. When Trump announced H-1B visa being rescinded, right? Indians were affected at 80% because they were the largest supplier of talent to the world, to the US, by the way. And what did they do? What did they do that was different? So India, from 2014 to 2019, they were setting up 2 colleges per day and 1 university per week. And this was all physical structures, physical buildings that is set up just to grow their, and that's why on the average today, every Indian has about 3 degrees, maybe college degrees, maybe university degrees, right? Today, the result is that India has more than 54,000 institutions of higher learning, right? So more than 1,000 universities, 12,000 standard institutions, and 45,000 colleges. This is in one country alone. Guess how many we have in Nigeria today? The total amount of institutions of higher learning in Nigeria today is not more than 1,000, because we have just about maybe 700 universities and some colleges here, some standalone institutions here, right? So again, you might say, okay, India is bigger than Nigeria, right? But if you look at the institution to person ratio, we don't have that. Because again, we'll touch Nigeria's problems as a specific case, right? India today now has a very well-to-do population. They're a global leader in IT, medicine, and engineering, just because they chose to invest in education, right? Just because they chose to invest in education. Remember what I said, education leads to more economic output, right? Because even if you're well-educated, if you're not needed and you find you're not needed in Nigeria, you move to somewhere else and have good economic output. And I'm not against that, right? If Nigerians are going to educate themselves and invest a lot in their education and move somewhere else for better economic opportunities, then that is good, because they can also give back to, of course, the local population. But apart from that, they're creating more economic opportunities for themselves, which will in turn lead to overall better economic growth. So India today is now a global leader in IT, medicine, and engineering, which is a win for everybody. Again, 80% of H-1B visas issued in the US were going to Indians. It's just crazy how direct investment in this particular one field, education, has yielded such results. Now, let's take a look at the African opportunity. But before we talk about the African opportunity, let's talk about the problem. Because before we talk about, again, it's just about framing, right? Opportunity, problem, it's all the same thing. All that you're asking is, do you have the solution to this problem? So let's take a look at the African education crisis. So in Africa today, there's an extraordinary demand for better tertiary education. I can tell you that the problems we face in Nigeria today, we're not alone. But let me show you the ones we have in Nigeria today. So in Nigeria today, to this year, 2 million students wrote JAMB, right? 2 million students approximately wrote JAMB. But the official capacity of students that can be taken into our university is just about 600,000. And that's because we have about 270 universities that are available, right, to train people. If you even want to talk about the capacity for maybe online learning, that's not there right now. And anyway, that's one of the things that VarsityScape is solving. But again, this is like the huge problem. Now, if you take a look at Nigeria, say, okay, maybe about 700 to 1,000 institutions that are training students in Nigeria today. Makes sense, right? Because if you take a look at other countries in Africa, the largest, I think, Black Francophone population in Africa, which is Congo, They have just about 36 universities there. I've also heard the case of some countries having maybe just about less than 10 universities. And so even as it were in Nigeria, we're still better than a couple of other countries, a lot of other countries actually in Africa. And this is not sustainable because if you have 2 million people writing JAM, you can only take 600,000. If you can do the maths, extrapolate, and the number is increasing every year. So extrapolate that data and try to answer the question. How many students would be the deficit maybe in 2030, right? That's a very huge problem. Again, if you want to compute this in economic value, this would be accounting to about, so 1 to 2 years that people lose before gaining access to university. So your mate in the US at 16, 18, 19, 20 is already maybe independent, but you're still trying to get into school at 20. And overall, we're losing approximately, this is my own rough estimate too. I crunched these numbers myself. Like what's the average salary you pay somebody in Nigeria versus the number of time they would have put into some work. And we're losing at least $4 billion every year just from the output that could be coming out. People are wasting that 1 to 2 years, not doing anything, right? This is just for that alone, right? And now we are not talking about the ripple effect that if you create 4 billion in economic output, that's 4 billion you can invest into more industries that leads to even more economic output. This is just base figures, right? But you see, this is not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the time you've lost, right? The youth years people have lost. The youth years you've lost because you were chasing university and you only graduated at 27, 28, and now you're 30 and growing old already. You get married, not enough opportunities, and you're repeating that circle over and over again. So it's the same problem, even for those that manage to get into school. You see that the halls are overcrowded, the methods are even outdated, the degrees are not even relevant. So the ones going to school to study maybe anatomy, and the rest of the other courses, they're not exactly relevant for today's job market. And that is a problem in and of itself. So we've talked a lot about problem, opportunity. The question I want to ask, I'll pause here because I've spoken a lot. I just wanted to give us that, insight so that we're on the same page. But I want to ask now, and this is where we begin to contribute. Do we think anything is possible based on what we have spoken on so far? Do we think anything is possible? Do we think that the country can radically change for the better? Or do we think all hope is lost and, the government should just call it quits and send everybody their paycheck so that we just descend into anarchy? Okay, somebody says, sure, I believe in radical change, but not through current institutions. Yes, there's hope for us. I have a question though. But does the number of institutions equate to quality education? That's also another question, right? All hope is not lost. Nigeria can be great again. Everything is possible. Okay, thank you very much for your positivity. Temi, you say you have questions. Please, you can ask your question in the chat. Then we can just, answer those questions before we sort of like move forward. Okay. And if you have any other comments, you can keep the comment. Engage a little bit, right? So what do you think might be necessary for us to bring this future that we are saying is possible, right? And what needs to change in the current institutions to make this possible? What do you think needs to change? Why do you say that's not possible through the current institutions? What needs to change? And any contributions would be welcome. Okay. Temi, do you still want to ask a question or should we go forward? Okay, let me do your hand up.
I'll try.
Oh, okay. Okay, but I think you can just unmute and ask the question.
All right. So my question is, someone pointed on the group that having so many institutions might not equate to adequate learning. And considering the situation we are currently in Nigeria, the chances of having built up university in such a small time is looking like it's not achievable. So how do small communities like, or yes, like Tech for Good Africa now, how can we come up with ideas to, contribute to this problem that we are experiencing? Can we come up with structures that are like schools but not officially school, and ensure that we are also doing a part to make sure that education is getting to everyone? I hope that's clear,
All right.
sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Timmy, for that question. So again, that question is actually very, very easy for me to answer. Very easy for me to answer because again, that's part of what we do at VarsityScape. And I think I'll speak a little bit on that, especially around the philosophy and how we see it. And this is mostly coming from me in terms of like my philosophy around that. But I also want to get some contributions. So I think some people in the chat are already contributing. So it says there needs to be an overhaul of the school curriculum. I like that. The wave of Gen Z protests in places like Nepal and Madagascar and Burkina Faso. Oh, so that's how we change institutions. I would want to argue with you on this because again, we might have different ways to achieve different goals. I don't know if I agree with you 100%, because if you take a look, you're talking about protest, but if you take a look at it, I don't think these kind of protests would lead to change. I would talk about this more a little bit. Restructuring the educational curriculum to meet current and aspiring job markets. I think that's great. I mean, curriculum on all levels to align with where the world is going. That's perfect, right? I'm going to answer your question, Timmy, but I just want to address the changing of the institutions that we talked about, wave of Gen Z protests in places like Nepal and Madagascar and Burkina Faso. Honestly, I do not believe in protests at all. I think that's part of my maybe political philosophy, right? And the reason I do not is because I don't think they are especially effective. Again, because I don't think they're especially effective, especially if you look at historical data. There are certain cases where they might be effective, and that is when there is maybe a strong leadership, right, that is there to exert itself. But again, it's not the protest that delivers the results, it is the strong leadership. And the number one solution that I want to say right now that we need to already begin to think towards is intentionality. Intentionality is the number one solution to our problem. And for you to have intentionality, you need to know what the problem is. When you know what the problem is, you're now intentional about solving the problem. That's the solution. You might fail. So that's why for some countries, it takes them maybe 100 years to industrialize, 40 years to industrialize, 50 years to industrialize. You might fail. But as long as there's an intentional component that says, hey, this is where we want to get to, and you set those goals that align to, let's say, some level of economic output that you want to produce, you will get there. You might fail, but you get there. Intentionality is the most important thing. And so if you take a look at Singapore, for example, India, China, a lot of these countries that pulled themselves out of the rubble, even the US, they were very intentional as emerging as the default currency. They wanted to hold something on the dollar, the petrodollar. We know all about that. Again, intentionality. So we need to be aware about the problems, and we need to be intentional about what kind of future we want to create. Right? Now, that's the first thing. Now, how we choose to solve the problem is now dependent on us. So, for example, somebody might say, "Oh, let's do protest." Sure, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to stop you if you choose to protest in the country today. I would not say stop, but I fundamentally just don't believe in it because, again, it's not as effective, especially when you talk about the opportunity to con ratio, right? So again, that's something that we can have different ideas on. What I fundamentally believe is something that we've also said today, which is the nature of the world is changing. So if you take a look at my slide, you will see that here, what about AI, right? The world is changing. And this is one of those times where we can choose to be intentional, right, about the kind of future that we want to create, or we can wait and fall behind even more. I know some people have been saying things like, "Oh, why is Nigeria doing anything with AI?" Well, the way you get ahead in this world is not by trying to go through all the stages that all the other countries went through. For example, it took the US 200 plus years to industrialize. Why? Because there were so many things that were not available then. And so they had to create all those things. When China started industrializing, more things were available, but again, they were able to leapfrog their developmental process. Same thing with Singapore. There were lots of things that we borrowed from China and from other places, embedded into the economy and helped them grow. In today's world, AI is highly democratized, and that's one of the things that we can do to begin to, that's one of the things that we can consider very strongly to increasing the economic output. And by the way, what is AI? AI is technology. What are we here for? Tech for good, right? So one of the things you already begin to think about is how will I use this technology for good in this particular industry? And somebody has mentioned something. What about alternative institutions? Exactly. If you take a look at India, for example, they didn't just create universities. They also created colleges, and they created, they created colleges and they created standalone institutions. That's one of the theses that we support at VarsityScape. We say, oh, Nigeria is never actually going to be able to compete in terms of infrastructure. We don't have the money to build 1,000 universities. We don't have the money to build 12,000 standalone institutions. We simply do not have that cash. So what are we going to do instead? There are other things that we have to advantage. We have a very young population. The average age in Nigeria today is 18. And what that means is most of these people will have access to devices. So is it possible that we can train these people through a different channel than, India might have gone through? Is it possible that we can upskill people faster than ever, right? And do this in such a way that is so efficient that we can do it in a very short period of time, so that we are not doing 2014 to 2019, which is approximately how many years? Let's say 5 years. We can do this in even a short time as possible, right? Just because the right frameworks are in place. And that's one of the reasons why we've sort of like built VarsityScape. Again, shameless plug here, but what VarsityScape allows us to do is create different learning communities, right? Create different learning communities that allows us to create different programs to train people in different areas. So again, we cater broadly to about 6 categories, but there's a 7th category for individual content creators. But ideally, this is what we're looking at: open universities, vocational training schools, incubators and accelerators, boot camps, leadership programs. This is where we would most likely fall into. And, creative arts schools. I don't know if I mentioned that, right? But 6 broad categories. And these are the categories that we believe would lead the next wave of innovation in the country. This is what will actually be important for growth in Nigeria, right? Again, open universities, vocational training schools, boot camps, incubators, accelerators, leadership programs, creative arts schools. And then, of course, as a solo creator, you can create programs that will train people. There's also a lot of initiatives coming out of Nigeria today. I know we say current institutions might not be able to cater. I would want to also say that, again, Rome was not built in a day. Singapore did not get to be Singapore in just 1 year. It's about putting in consistent effort over a very long period of time. And so even as much as I would like to maybe criticize the government of today for what they're doing, I also would want to say there are some programs I think they are putting up, which, again, might actually be very useful and we can choose to plug into. So, for example, I know there's the Digital Literacy for All initiative that is being run by NITSDA. NITSDA is an arm under the Minister of Digital Economy, so Communications and Digital Economy, right? And so that's an agency that's running a DL for All program. And what they do is they pay trainers, right? They pay trainers to create, to go out there to help people become more digitally literate. So it gives them all the resources that they need. They can now go out there and begin to do good, right? Teach people how to use these devices, because that's the first step in trying to educate people online, is to get them to be aware that there's a program like that and to give them the skills. So I know that there are some, and there's also from the Ministry of Education, there's this TVET training where they pay 35,000 naira per month and you are going to learn, and they put you under some apprenticeship close to you. That's also something that I think is also laudable. And I know that the minister has said they are not going to create any more federal universities over the next 7 years, because they want to focus on improving the ones that exist, that are already there. They also said, okay, no more private universities for the next 1 year. I think that expires early next year. So again, I think there are all these initiatives that we can stand behind, because that is what would actually make sure we make it, right? We might not agree in terms of the way they're going about it, but I think that's something that we can definitely get behind. And again, this is not just a problem that is specific to Nigeria. Even if you look at the US today, okay, although the problem takes a different shape, education is very expensive. So how do you train people for the future of work today? How do you educate people for the future that they don't even know if it exists? Universities will take about 5 years to review their curriculum. By the time they are done reviewing, some new technology is already out. So what is going to equip people with the right skills to stay on top? Those are, that's what we're talking about here today, right? Let me take a look at the comments. So I mean curriculum on all levels to align with where the world is going. Exactly. I was on point. Having a positive growth idea and implementation will be of a great impact. Thank you. I believe that increasing the number of schools focused on skills acquisition can be beneficial. Exactly. Additionally, current institutions in Nigeria can incorporate online classes to accommodate more students, which will help reduce overcrowding in classrooms. Perfect response, right? So I think the next step, we're already getting the idea, right? What we're talking about here. The next step is to begin to look for how to create impact wherever we are. Whether it is creating your own academy to train these people, whether it is plugging into some already existing program as it is today within the country or outside, whether it is doing something from your area to say, hey, I'm a leader, I want to impact people on this particular scale. It's all about taking the action. And again, it's all about intentionality. What kind of results do you want to produce by doing what you're doing? What kind of results do you want to produce? What kind of response do you want to elicit? What kind of outcomes do you want to make? So I think that's about it for today. If you have any questions, I think we can go ahead and ask. Hope I'm not taking too much time. But even if I have, maybe I hope that I've not wasted your time. So if you have any questions, please go on to ask. If my time is up, so let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That was really powerful. It was eye-opening, and in that moment, the first thought that came to mind was a video of the Singapore airport that I saw sometime last month. And they literally have one of the most beautiful airports in the world. And seeing that even other aspects of their economy has upgraded significantly just from the bedrock of education is truly insightful. And, you know, as you kept deliberating, and I saw someone also write it in the mindset. So we'll usually hear the president, for instance, talk about an hybrid mindset, a mindset first that believes that it is possible. And if all persons on this call today live with that reality and start to think, what is my place here? What can I contribute? What can I collaborate on to actually ensure that we upskill the educational sector in Nigeria? So we're going to leave it open now. If there are questions, anyone who has any more questions that has not been touched on, we would go right into that before we have our next speaker come on real quick. Okay, do we have any more questions? We understand that some people are dialed in from the YouTube. So even if you're on YouTube, feel free to drop the question in the chat. If you're on here on Zoom, you can use your raise hand button and we will take that if it's not been answered, if any of the questions you still have in mind has not been answered yet. Okay. I am reading through now, and it appears that we've had such a robust time with Daniel so far. So do we have any questions? Okay, so Temiloluwa echoes that we did. So Daniel, thank you so much. That was a really expansive deep dive, especially into education. And right now, I'm just even thinking, what's the next thing and what can we do to collaborate with VarsityScape? I know that there's also the Africa Technology Leadership Academy, which I believe the president will speak to some more when he's speaking later, because beyond mindset, or almost as important as mindset, also leaders who are able to steer the course of this transformation. So I imagine that at Singapore, for instance, must have had some leaders who took that step way back in 1965 and said, let's write the vision and make it plain. So again, Daniel, thank you so much. And we will still be speaking to some of these cogent points as we go along.
Thank you
All
very much.
right,
Thank
so
you for
we
having
have,
me.
thank you, Daniel.
Mhm.
All right, so I will be reading Ruth's bio real quick as she takes us through the next session. Ruth Ekwere is a dynamic project and programs manager. She's a business development leader and growth strategist with a proven track record of driving impactful projects across software as a service, edtech, and nonprofit sectors. With a background in statistics and expertise in both agile and waterfall methodologies, she has successfully led transformative projects that merge innovation with measurable results. Ruth currently leads the programs and partnerships team at Detalium, a global tech training and consulting firm with over 45,000 alumni across 56 countries. Here, she designs strategic solutions and projects that empower businesses and professionals. Beyond corporate leadership, she's the founder of She Schools Initiative, a social impact organization that has funded education and provided resources for over 500 girls in underserved communities. Ruth is passionate about building sustainable systems, redefining project success, and enabling inclusive growth for women and young people across Africa and beyond. Let's make welcome Ruth Ekwere. So let's give her our fire emojis in the chat, and the next voice you'll hear will be Ruth. Over to you, Ruth. Thank you, everyone, for the emojis. It appears Ruth was bumped off the call. Ruth, are you on? Can you hear us? Okay, just trying to be sure we have Ruth hearing us.
Hello?
T4GAT. Okay. Ruth, can you hear us?
I don't think she's on the call. She was here and she disappeared. So let's try and find her. I think at this moment, if the community manager wants to take the data collection before she comes back, we could do that.
Okay, awesome. All right, so Aramide, would you kindly try to catch Ruth? Temiloluwa Shomefun is the community manager at Tech for Good Africa. So we will take the data collection session. Thank you so much for that, Aramide. With Temiloluwa now. So over to you, Temiloluwa, while we wait for Ruth to get back on. Thank you. Hi, Tammy.
It also looks like Tammy has also disappeared. Okay, and I can see Titi Lola Bello from Datalium. Don't know if that's where Ruth is on. So just to confirm if Ruth is there with us.
We can already see some, because we had similar challenges last week. I think that if there's a way we can innovate a data source that is as strong or stronger than, say, Starlink. I think Starlink is probably the self-acclaimed strongest internet today, because Aramide says Root's network is a bit poor. Temiloluwa's also seems to be poor. Okay. Could we have someone else take the data collection discuss?
Okay, let me just jump in here and help. Always happy to help. Okay, so everyone in Tech for Good Africa community, we're very passionate about data collection. So if you have your phone right now, you can scan the QR code in front of your screen. If you're not doing that, you can just type on your browser, and all you have to do is put in that code that you see on your screen. It's 19214140. If someone can be kind enough to type in the website and the code on the chat, it will also help. So just type in menti.com, and please use the code as you see it on your screen, or you can scan the QR code. And I will, as soon as everybody's done that, I will move over to the other screen where we have the data itself.
It appears you're not in presentation mode yet.
Yeah, I know. I wanted everyone to get the data first if I move to that screen. So as I mentioned, please just type in the link, and that's the code. And I'm going to go to the presentation screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, I can see some joining in already. Okay. The QR code is also on the screen. You also have the code at the top. And I'm just trying to confirm how many people. Okay. How many people are on the call? We have 13 people on the call. We only have 7 people that have joined the Menti. Guys, please let's engage. Menti.com. Use the code that you're seeing on the screen. Let's answer the first question. Where are you joining from? All you have to do is touch the screen where you're joining from. Just touch the screen. Guys, we should see more people joining in.
Yeah, I'm from Somalia. I'm from Somalia.
Yeah, just type the link, Yasin. Thank you. Type the link and put in the code and just touch where Somalia is on the map. I know it could be small. If you're...
Sorry. I'm walking on the road, so I can't type anything. So that's why I'm speaking right now. Thank you. So I will comment back later, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Yasin, and thank you for coming to let us know that. Okay, I can see that 6 people have answered out of 9 people, so the other 3 were waiting for you so we can move to the next question. As soon as I get one more and it's 8, I will move to the next question. Okay, I think I'm going to move to the next question. Okay, cool. Okay, so the next question is, what technology would you like to see deployed in Africa's educational sector or education sector for good? All you have to do is just type in the word in there. I know many of you put them in the chat before. You can put them here now. What technology would you like to see deployed in Africa's education sector for good? Blockchain. Wow, that is so interesting. I love that. Blockchain in education. Wow, look forward to knowing what that looks like. You can put in as many words as possible. Impactful self-learning. Love that. You can put in as many words as possible. Artificial intelligence, AI, hands-on activities. You can put in as many words as possible. AI and machine learning. Looks like AI is winning. Okay, someone's typed in the code as the technology they would like to see. Hands-on skill acquisition. I don't know if hands-on skill acquisition is a technology. Remember, we're asking what technology would you like to see deployed in Africa's educational sector for good. Someone put 6G. I love that. Okay, should we move to the next question now? AR and VR, I love that. Whoever put that there is really cool. Thank you for sharing AR and VR. That's a very big one. Yeah, oh wow. I can see Apple Pie Tech. That's really good. You can use that for offline education. Well done, whoever put that there. and that's motivated me to add mine of offline learning. It looks like artificial intelligence is the winner. Just gonna jump right now to the next question and our final question for today. Thank you everyone for putting in your response. I think we got, and this tool is really cool. We got about 8 people out of 10 people submitting something. Thank you guys. All right, final question today, and I'll hand it back to Olamide. You guys have been awesome. Well done. How can Tech for Good Africa do more in education for good? Guys, any suggestion on how we as a community can do more in education for good? How can Tech for Good Africa do more in education for good? I know this one might take a while, but please don't hesitate to how can Tech for Good Africa do more in education for good? Okay. I believe a tailored approach will work best, quality over quantity. If the outreach could be to 2 students, network effects could replicate the substance if that individual is fully equipped. Low costs, offline, first ed tech like tablets or app that don't need constant internet with localized content in Nigerian language. I love that one. Thank you so much, whoever shared that. First is educating people in the possibilities. Education will be introducing the necessary technology to back this up. Thank you. How can Tech for Good Africa do more in education for good? Updates curriculum to include practical skills such as critical thinking. Thank you so much, guys. Still hoping to get some more. If you're typing, I'll still just give you another 30 seconds to 1 minute, and I'll hand it over. I think our second speaker is already here. Guys, another 30 seconds. Just type it in that box. Submit it. We want to hear from you. How can Tech for Good Africa do more in education for good? Solid powered digital classroom, especially for rural areas without reliable electricity. Teacher continuous training. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much for engaging and participating with me. Olamide, I'm gonna hand this over back to you. Thanks, guys, for just even indulging me. Thank you so much. I think Roots is firm that she's and I'll just share in her bio.
Wow, that we get this. These are truly actionable steps, and in a few minutes, we're going to be making the call as well to a few people, well, to everyone actually, to join in the Tech for Good Africa community, and even, materialize some of these really insightful ideas that have been shared. And again, remember, attend at least 3 of these thematic sessions, earn you a badge that you can always upload on your LinkedIn and celebrate these sessions that you've gone through, the impact that you have invested first into yourself and you're able to do to others. So Ruth, we make you welcome. We've read your bio and to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Great. I deeply apologize to everyone. My network took me out at the wrongest time. Well, that is one of the challenges we'll be talking about today. All right. Thank you, everyone. I want to say thank you to Tech for Good for the opportunity to speak. And today, largely, what I want to do is share from my personal story and talk about education. At the core of it, personally, education sits at the heart of my personal core value. And I'm happy that we get to discuss that today. So in a short moment, I will be sharing my screen. So please confirm if you can see my screen.
It appears it's still loading.
Okay, is it up at the moment?
Yes, it is.
Great. Thank you all so much. I also want to appreciate Speaker Daniel. I was able to listen on the entire conversation from start to finish, talking about other countries that had prioritized education and the result of that. Now, what we see is, oh, a country started this, but at the end of it, Daniel mentioned something about leadership and how that comes into play when we are talking about societal good, when we're talking about influencing change, when we are talking about influencing innovation. And it trickles down to who we are as a people and the values make us who we are as a people. So today we'll be talking about education and the framework of E=MDQ, where E is for energy, M is for media, D for data design and digital. And today my presentation will be focused on data and how data is vital to the work that we do. And this is not just me, training. I would really like us to unmute our mics when we have questions and when we have to, contribute. But then I share a story. We've all heard the story of the man who wanted to change the world. And then he said, I'm going to change the world. And then he decided, let me try changing the world. He tried so hard and he couldn't do it. And then he said, okay, I'll change my continent. Still tried so hard, but didn't do it. And then he went on to say, okay, I'll change my country. Tried so hard. He was getting really old. And then he had to start from himself. I think that the very core of change for us as a people starts with every individual one of us. And like Daniel said, leadership is important. But that also ties to my point of today, that self-leadership is as much important. When we want to create change for our nation, for our people, we start with that one human being. And that one human being is ourselves. My name is Ruth Egweri, and today I lead programs and partnerships at Datalium. And Datalium is focused at upskilling young Africans across the world. And we've been able to do so to over 45,000 Africans globally. I'm very proud of that work. Why? It means that we are able to spread change, create opportunities for young Africans across the world. Now, if we want to see the level of change that we desire, it means that we must start with one young African at a time. So today, like I said, my story will be revolving around data. I would share some of my personal story, and I hope that that encourages one person here and helps you make a decision today. Now, my story of education, I didn't get to have a laptop until I was in 400 level. Yes, a personal laptop. this is not a story that is peculiar to me alone. Many young Africans, many young Nigerians had that same issue. And having a laptop today means having access to information, having access to data, having access to seeing the world. But beyond that, we had access to books. You went to tertiary institution, you went to secondary school, you went to primary school. But things are changing rapidly, right? Across the world. I'm happy with the poll we just took. We talked about AI. We're talking about virtual reality. We're talking about, digital infrastructure, data centers, LLMs. That's the buzzword around the world. But there is a girl in Zamfara that might not have opportunity to that. What can we do to ensure that we are changing things for young people, even in the most remotest of places? And I'm hoping that this presentation will help us find that. Now, the objective for today is to, help us understand how data plays a critical role in our everyday life, discuss trends in data and AI, and just show us how to get started. Now, I have a question that says, when was the last time you made a decision based on data and not gut feeling? I want to just sample them. Anybody wants to go? You can unmute your mic at any point in time. Is anyone speaking?
Sorry, hi everyone. My name is Abigail.
Hello.
I thought about maybe if I'm buying something online, I usually go through the reviews of the people that have bought from that particular thing. So I use that to make a decision if I'm purchasing it or not. Yeah.
Great. A review online. Thank you so much, Aramide.
Oh,
I see Emmanuel's hands are up.
Oh, I said, in my community work in Somalia, we honestly planning a youth training instead of just guessing the best topic. We use the data from surveys among young people. The results show that most were interested in entrepreneurship and digital skills. So we focused the program on that, and it was a big success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So if I get you clearly, you mentioned how you wanted to launch a program and then you took a survey, and then what you got from that was able to spur the program to run. Thank you so much, Machine. Yes, Emmanuel, I see your hands up. I'll take you.
Thank you, Masu. Mine is quite different. I made a decision quite recently. I did some data gathering with some findings, but it did not tally with what I want to do. So instead of following the data, I still trusted my intuition.
Great. And how did that result for you?
It went well. Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll come back to that. Okay. Thank you so much. So a lot of times we make decisions. In fact, our government plans for us. The question we have to ask is, who are they planning for? A case in point would be a census. Why do people carry out census in the first place? One, you want to assess just knowing the number of people in your country. Maybe just to say, oh, we have over 200 million people in this country. Or to say, oh, we have so and so number of people in the South region who might need XYZ level of information, or XYZ level of education, or XYZ level of resources. Or we can redistribute our resources in this particular order so that there would be balance. Another part of data in terms of governance could be when it comes to the quota system. Or what's the percentage of Northerners who have gotten a certain role, or the percentage of Igbos, or the percentage of Yorubas who have gotten certain opportunities. Could also be gender-based. How many women do we have today in the helm of affairs and representatives in local governments? How can we help them? What's the ratio of women to male in terms of hospital infrastructure? These are some of the ways that governments use data to, spur decision making. But it's not just organizations who should use this. As change makers, as people who want to create change, not just for ourselves, but for our communities, data plays a pivotal role. Now, I want you to just look at this spreadsheet, and if you can, tell me, just one or two people, what can you infer from this spreadsheet? Does it tell any story this way? Does it make sense to you this way? Anybody who wants to go can. Not really. But we can look hard. I know I can see project ID P001. I can see e-commerce launch. I can see budget 500. If you look at this way, it's hard to draw insights from, right? However, if I move further to create a dashboard out of this, now I can make some decision around it. At my core, I am a project manager. However, regardless of wherever I find myself, I know for sure that data plays a key role in helping me understand what to do. So take, for example, we are at the end of quarter, and it's time for me to tell my supervisors and the management and the executives that, oh, we've done a fantastic job this quarter. How best can I relay that to create change? Take example, I want to ask for XYZ number of dollars to be funded for a particular project. How do I make a case for that project to be executed? How we do that is by showing. And how we show or get buy-in is by showing data, by telling our stories with numbers. A lot of us on this call today are people who want to create change. And creating change is not something we do alone. We do that by working hand in hand with other people. What that means is that we must convince people, we must convince investors, we must convince the government, we must convince our partners that the project that we have, the work we want to do, somebody was talking about artificial intelligence, we were talking about AR, we are talking about virtual reality. All of these things are capital intensive, but we can get the right partners, we can get the right people to work with us when we tell the right stories with our data. The problem we have today is the fact that we do not document enough. Should we document enough as a people, we would be able to tell our stories better. And that onus does not just rest on the Bureau of Statistics. It rests with us, where we start thinking data first. Oh, my budget. Oh, my project. Oh, my education. Even in your education, how are you measuring growth for yourself? So we say, oh, I have a lofty goal of changing the lives of 1,000 people. How really am I measuring that change? How real am I measuring my impact? That lies on data. And so we see how documentation, we see how analytics plays a key role in ensuring that the change we seek to have or we seek to see is not just done but achieved. Our impact is felt. Why? Because we can measure. Today, a lot of African data is lost in the entire elements around the world. And you and I are the people who will contribute into ensuring that African stories are told in its most real and authentic form. And that's why record keeping and data is very important. Oh yes, we can say, oh, they have not done it. But even in our personal space, are we thinking data first? That is the question we need to answer. So now we need to ask ourselves, Why does data analytics matter? One, for insight. We can have scattered raw information everywhere like that spreadsheet. People have different opinions about where the next resources should be. People are guessing about the kind of projects we should have. Today, we see a lot of nonprofit organizations running different projects. But at the end of the day, can we tie back those projects to real impact? Can we trace the level of impact that has been made from those projects to how sustainable they can be? If not, we need to double down. We need to dial back and say, let us track. There are 3 I's as to why data is important. 1, for insight. 2, for innovation. As part of our core values at Datalium, innovation stands at its peak. Now, AI cannot be AI without data. AI is transforming everything that is happening today. But at the root of it, at the core of it, we have data. And for Africans today, for Nigeria especially, this is where we are lacking and where everyone in this community tech for good must come and play, generating insight and generating data. We need to start from our own home front to say, oh, for every project I run, we are going to have a solid data bank such that if anybody needs data today, we can come to each cluster and say, oh, where is your data bank? We need it for this. Where is your data bank? We need it for this. Not just numerically, but also quantitatively, where we are able to keep our stories in its real form. And lastly, it is for impact. What we don't measure, we can't improve. Data ensures that progress is not just real, but that progress is real, not just promised. So you're not just saying that, oh, we are going to do this, and then you do it. But it is that lives are changed, and you can measure it. In project management, we have the logic framework, where you talk about your activities, you talk about your outputs, you talk about your outcomes, and you talk about your impact, right? At the end of the day, we all are working towards what? Impact. And at the bedrock of impact is data. Because take, for example, you run a project today where you have no record or no documentation whatsoever. It's difficult to even know where you are, what to improve on. I was reading someone's story on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she was running a project, and then she realized that, oh, after running several boot camps or several programs, and even giving laptops to people, they drop their skills and they say, oh, I can't continue anymore. When we are able to go back and track, after 3 months, after 1 year, where are our people? We had given them laptops. Oh, we thought that was the challenge, and we solved that at the time, but we are realizing that that is not the root cause of the problem. We are seeing that there is a deeper problem. Data is showing that our girls are no longer making use of the skills that was learned. Today, we have a lot of short-term courses that one can take to learn about data, but how many of us stay through to the end? For some people, I'm sure we have several Coursera courses that we have not completed. We have taken several, short courses that we've not also completed. That is data, and we need to start asking ourselves, regardless of the interventions we have now, how can we make this better? Data. Now, how can we get started? 1, adopt a data-first mindset. I've been clamoring this from the beginning of my speech. What you don't measure, you can't scale. How can we start thinking numbers? How can we start thinking data first? And we should not limit data to just as a spreadsheet, like I mentioned. How can you record what people feel? How can you record images? How can we record satisfaction rates? Now, today, there are lots of LMSs, and the most challenging part of, even currently in my role, we do trainings for organization, corporate trainings for organization. And one of the major complaints is that, oh, we have an LMS, but several people join this LMS and then they drop off. How then can we ensure that people are able to see through the trainings that they take in the first place? Without that data, it would be impossible to now realize that problem. And what we are seeing is that with every problem, it's like an onion bulb. Once you uncover one layer of the problem, you see that you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until you are able to solve that problem. So again, let us continuously measure, even in our personal lives. It is very important. Secondly, carry out a personal SWOT analysis. We want to change the world, right, with data, but where does your strength lie? Several people across the world, you can be a manager, you can be a project manager, like me, you can be a UI UX designer, a social entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, look for that key strength that makes you you, that makes Emmanuel, that makes Aramide, that makes Ruth. Stick with that path and then integrate data into it. Today, we are talking about education. Now, we must also look down, drill down in your own small community, in your own village. How are you changing things with data? And you as a person, is your own strength, your weakness, your opportunities, your threat? How are you adapting that into, creating change in that area? Thirdly, is committing to learning. Today we have AI, and the explosion of AI is not just a buzzword. It's something that is coming. It's something that is already here. And we must keep on upskilling to adapt to the current trend. Today, Datalium is running several training programs for young people where we've understood the problem that some people on their own would not be able to carry through. But with a community, with a village, you can carry on. But with a village, you can carry on. And lastly, is to build in public. By building in public, you are shining your light for others to see. You are ensuring that you are not just doing this alone, but you are encouraging other people as well to see the good in what you are doing, and you're also giving them room to do the right things. So on this note, I leave us with this quote, that data is the new oil. We must educate ourselves to stay relevant, especially as it relates to data. Thank you all so much. I'll be taking on questions at this time. Thank you.
Wow, Ruth. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was really powerful. What probably stood out for me the most has to be the entire journey you took us through, from the 3 I's of insight, innovation, and impact, and what we don't measure, we actually cannot even track. So we're going to go right into questions. Yes, our really inspiring. I want to leave here and I'm just thinking, what's the next thing I need to be activating, just even from hearing you speak. So if we have any questions at all, now is the time to ask those questions. So you can use the virtual raise hand button, or you can unmute and you can type in the question in the chat box. So let's go for it. Be doing a tiny roll call. Gideon, do you have any questions? Kamal, Oluwashi, do we have any questions for Ruth? Okay, so Emmanuel has a question. Ruth, are you happy to take it on now?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Olamide. There is this narrative to focus on strength. What if our passion lies in our weakness? How do we navigate it? Thank you so much. A lot of people find purpose. I am one who is very keen on purpose, especially when it comes to solving Africans' problems. And with purpose comes in different ways. Some people are very vocal, very energetic, and they feel like, oh, I can take on the world. But some people, in the midst of what was seemingly a weakness, they found purpose in that. And that for sure is a launch pad to greatness. So yes, if a weakness is something that you have seen, how can you morph that? The question is morphing weaknesses into strengths and making them become a rallying point for others to gain strength from. So we are not satisfied with them being weaknesses, but we are saying, how can this be transformed into something that can help my world become better? That is it. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Manuel? Do you want to give a
And if
thumbs?
you would like to also share your stance points for more context, I would appreciate that as well.
But can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Go for it.
So this next comment. So for instance, there was a time in my journey or my trajectory where I was not very good at speech, not very good at speaking. So I had to, that was my evident weakness then. And there were other things at that particular time that I was very quite good at. So I knew that I really wanted to get better at this. So I invested time that I would have rather spent on harnessing my strengths into building something that I was weak at that particular time. So if that scenario, brings forth itself again, how do I navigate it? I don't know if you get the context.
Great. Thank you so much. A lot of the times, great things happen from weak places. And that's the fact that your story is not even peculiar to you. A lot of great speakers, a lot of fantastic global speakers today are people who some were stammerers and they had to deal with that. The most important thing is realizing that this is a problem that I need to build on. And the win for you is I have realized this problem and I am able to morph that. Look at you speaking today. I wouldn't have known if you were a poor speaker before. Why? Because you have built up on those weaknesses. The idea of weaknesses is to identify them and morph them. So yes, thank you so much, Emmanuel.
It doesn't appear that we have any more questions. So I'm going to thank you so much, Ruth, for your time, for braving the internet drama and sharing with us so powerfully and inspiringly. So we're going to be wrapping it up now, bringing on Samuel Efosa-Austin. He literally needs no introduction. He's the president, Tech for Good Africa, one man who is transforming Africa and totally driving the hybrid mindset, ensuring that people don't just think money or think what's in it for me, and then you start to think impact first. If anyone has been influenced by, yes, we call him C, and the ocean never dries. So if anyone has been impacted directly by him, that has to be me, and just a host of many people who start to believe in themselves just from seeing him take on something and build from ground up, literally, and come back to an Africa where he's not just talking his love for Africa, he's living it. So let's make welcome Samuel Efosa-Austin. So let's have the emojis in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks everybody. It's good to be back again on the second week of the Enter All into Tech for Good. I'm very excited to just see people on the call. I always say, even if I have two people on a call and those two people become ambassadors for Tech for Good, I'm happy. Olamide would tell me no. She would say we need 5,000 people. Again, I guess that's why they say two people chase 10,000. So you already know. But I'm very excited to be here again with you all. I just want to say thank you to the first two speakers that spoke. Daniel, a good friend of mine. I'm actually using his platform for two academies. I manage Vertebra Academy for tech skills, and I also manage African Technology Leadership Academy. So Daniel was a very big part of a partnership. And to Ruth, I just wrote to Ruth on LinkedIn, and she popped up and took the mantle, and she did a great job today. And we're also going to be partnered with Datalium in Tech for Good Africa. So if you know your friends, tell your friends. There's still data session coming up soon. And maybe by that session, we've already partnered with Datalium and we'll be offering some of the powerful things that Datalium already does. I'm truly, truly excited, and I just want to say thank you to both of them for just coming up here and sharing. Guys, I'm not going to waste too much time. I shared this last week, but I can never stop sharing about Tech for Good Africa. It's just, I'm sorry. If you know me, if you found me anywhere, I talk about tech all the time. So I cannot stop talking about Tech for Good Africa. Just give me 1 minute, guys. I just want to do something here. Okay, great. Awesome. Cool. Right, we are Tech for Good Africa. And we have a formula here. You can see that one of our leaders, Ruth, used that as a formula for her presentation. Is E equals MD cube. It is what forms our thematic areas that you're being part of today to become an ambassador of. I'll start with a story. I went to a meeting today at Antler, gathered with some smart people in the room about developing AI startups. And as everybody was talking, it got to my point for me to talk about what I do. And I told everyone I run Echo Africa and Tech for Good Africa and ATLA. And I was sharing with them about the formula of E equals MD cube. And to be honest, I could not leave that building today. Everybody just kept saying, "Sir, talk to me more about this E equals MD cube. Share more. This thing is brilliant. The integration is brilliant." And you're one of the first movers of learning these things and branding yourself with a badge of being an E equals MD cube person, which means that education and the energy you carry, or the energy of your location, or the energy of the world and the education of the world, is equals to a world of media, data, design, and digital. And as you see, as Ruth put it today, that even if you're being educated, and I'm going to mix it with what Daniel said, that the economic value of a place is by the activities. So imagine that you are educated. It will now form the activities you're doing, which is the E. That's why we didn't put E square. It's E together as one. Energy and education together. If you are educated, it will form how energetic you are. Emmanuel asked that question. What are the steps I can take that if I find out that I now have another problem? How do I now convert it? If you check your energy and you are feeling sick, the first thing you need to do is go and buy medicine. But when you buy the medicine, you have to be educated about, do you take 2 tablets or 1 tablet? The future that's coming for us is Africa. The energy and the education will form how we shape our media, how we shape our data, how we shape the design of our nation, and even the digitalization of our nation. So you're onto something here, being part of Tech for Good Africa, and we're hoping to empower everyone through technology, this sustainability, and building civic innovation. Let me just run through it all. We're a movement of innovators, leaders, and change makers across Africa. We're using technology, and you should be using technology and will be, as an ambassador, using technology as a force to sustain the earth. I'm sure you've heard about the UN SDG goals, but if you've not, as you're part of the ambassadorship now, you will learn more about that. Inclusion, how can we make everybody included? Today, that was a very big talk where I was. Some people were bringing up ideas, and some people were like, my mother will not be able to use this. She's still speaking Yoruba. How can we get it inclusive? AI can help her do that. All that kind of stuff. Inclusion and good. We want to build an Africa. And as a community, we're building Africa's future with verified data. And you learn more about that when you hear about the Echo platform. Through civic tech, as a Tech for Good Africa ambassador, that's where you start to do that. As a civic person of my nation, how can I use technology to solve some of the problems that exist? And leadership. Again, you've heard about ATLA. How can I become a leader in various sectors using E equals MD cube? Think about it, for example, manufacturing. What would be the E equals MD cube of manufacturing? The energy, the education that leads to the media, data, design, and digitalization of the manufacturing organization. Just think about the value of measuring it through that way. Our framework, I cannot emphasize it enough, energy, education, media, data, design, and digital, shapes the way that we train our hybrid mindsets, shape our nation, even give our nation to the global world, because we are a unique type of youth. We're trying to shape a unique type of world. What are the ethos? We believe here technology is a civic duty. Technology is no more just tech as a tool. It's no more just that. It's now a duty for you to be able to use ChatGPT to your advantage to solve some social problem. It's very important that you use ChatGPT to be able to put narratives out there on LinkedIn that relates to Africa. It's much a civic duty as an innovation, right? We also believe here that Africa's problem don't require us to copy and paste, but to create homegrown, human-centered solution. I'll give you an example of what I was thinking about. I recently went to see someone about an app, and he kept saying to me, I want to build an app to help artisans in Nigeria. And I said to him, sir, I have a unique way of looking at this problem. Most people are building this booking application, book a hairdresser, book a this, book a that. And I'm thinking to myself, why is it that I have to go on a platform and book? And so I told him that this is a copy and paste situation, because we're seeing that the Western world, people have like good artisans, there's good plumber, there's better system there, and so on and so forth. So trying to use the way that they do it there in booking. I said, that's not how it works. I can wake up in the morning today now in Africa, and I want to clean my house. I also want to eat some food, and at the same time I want to do my hair. Why didn't we make our own application more like requesting? Because then that would incentivize the artisans to go and use this application as a social media. So they won't be on social media again scrolling and wasting their time. They will be on this application scrolling through requests and bidding. So they will be scrolling through requests, and they see Olamide saying, I want to wash my clothes today. They see Aramide saying, I want to go to the market and buy some tomatoes. And somebody is bidding and saying, I'll do this one for you, ma, 5,000 naira. I'm just down your house, down the road from your house. You know, I even remember the fact that my guard outside washes my car every day. He could have just been bidding with me that, okay, sir, I'll wash the car today for 5K, which he does with me physically. But he could have been scrolling on this requesting homegrown, human-centered solution that is related to the way that we do things, because we don't just book here where you're just booking me. In Nigeria, we always bargain. Madam, I'm not go buy this tomato for 5, I go buy them 2 naira. And you know, why are we not building it like that for our people? So we believe here that our problems require our own type of solution. We also believe that data, and you can hear that we have not even gotten to data. Well, most people that have come on here already have already talked about data. So you know, Tech for Good African people are very passionate about data. We do not play with data. And there's more to come with us about data. We're not trying to be like everyone with data. We have a unique strategy that we want to use for data to create some interesting data sets that when you pull our data sets, you'll be happy that I use their data sets as data. We believe in identity. We don't believe that as we are becoming ambassadors for Tech for Good, our identity showcases who we are, and it grows us to becoming leaders and grows us to becoming partners that as we're anchoring on various partnerships, the partnership understands that we're not just building this technology just to show off or just to make money, but to do good. We also believe in design. And these things are the things that drive prosperity of the future: data, identity, and design. Last week I said is that God did, you did, and you doing is the data you understand from heaven about yourself to shape the identity of who you are, to design your world in the way that you're supposed to do it. Each and every one of you have come with some unique identity, some unique data in your mind that you need to give us. It's not inside ChatGPT, because one of the things we even discovered today in my discussion with Antler is that AI cannot solve all problems. So we still need more. AI will not solve all problems. So we still need data from independent variables that bring it to shape identities that would design our world. We believe here also that leadership is not about being the guy at the top or the Oga at the top and everybody's calling you Oga, or like Samuel and everybody's saying our president, our president. But leadership is about empowering communities first. I'm very passionate about empowering this community through the right structure, through the right strategy. Olamide is here to empower them with project management and administration. Aramide is here to empower us with contacting people. Our community manager is here to make sure we are always leading here to empower our community. Michael is here, all these beautiful designs you're seeing, he's doing great about it. What are our values? We deliver value by empowering our ambassadors, which is you, with the knowledge and this community. We are training leaders to drive sector transformation. So E equals MD cube now fits into sectors, and then you now know what E equals MD cube is for community. You know what E equals MD cube is for consumer good, for manufacturing, for energy, and so on and so forth. We are partnering with organizations to scale civic technology solutions. One of the ones that I recently did 2 days ago, and I was showing it to Olamide, was that why is it that in the UK there's petition sites for people to petition, but in Africa there's no petition site where I can sign petitions to bring about change in my government? So I thought Tech for Good Africa should be the one to launch that and put that out there to the world, right? But today as I was driving, it hits me again as an innovator that I am, if you know me, that okay, why do I even want people to be writing petition? Why don't I use the social media? There's always some post on social media and comments of people just ranting and ranting. Pulling that type of data and the thing that happened in Lagos, and people are now saying this thing should not be happening in Lagos. The AI sees all their conversation and shapes a petition, and we're all signing it saying this is true. This AI literally saw this data properly, listened to all we are saying, and this petition is the right petition. They should not be flawed in Lekki when rain falls. Who is going to put out that petition and we all sign it and take it to Parliament in Lagos State government, and they start to do something about not letting flood happen in Lekki anymore? One of our other values is that we embed the Echo platform and the Echo ID to verify all the data and its impact. So if you have not signed up to the Echo platform, Tammy or anyone up there, please help me put the link, sign up to the Echo platform and get your Echo ID. So much is coming with that. Our current programs are, we have think tanks and cycle to research and collaborate on technology for good themes. International Women's Day that was initiated by Olamide, where we give laptops to young women and we talk about women that are empowering. I'm sure Ruth is going to be on the next one. I'm sure Olamide is already looking at her and saying we need to bring her real life into the room. Championing women leaders and innovators in the room. We have the Strategic Leadership Forum where we talk high-level dialogue with leaders and decision makers for policy. This year, we actually brought out some policies, and literally, guys, community members, leaders, let's put out what we brought out from Strategic Leadership Forum so that even more people understand what we're doing here. We do ESG in tech to start the year, and this will happen again in January, so be part of it. Driving environmental, social, and governance through tech and our training in ESG. We do the Enter All Into Tech for Good, which is onboarding ambassadors, which you're a part of now. And then we also do ATLA, which is African Technology Leadership, where we're training every person that's an ambassador here in the 11 sectors. Again, we also do the award recognizing those that are already using technology in our thematic areas to do good. Let me rush through this. We have future programs that we believe you as an ambassador can be part of and help us shape. AI for Good has not even been put out there in Africa yet. What is AI for Good? How can we leverage artificial intelligence for social and civic tech? Look at the ones I told you today about pulling all social media data and creating petition out of it. That came because my mindset is already about tech for good. So I started to think about how can I use AI for good? Data for good, harnessing data for verified impact and informed decision making. For example, yesterday Olamide asked me, where are all the policies? Even though I was answering her because of the strategy I know about government, and I've learned that most of our policy are domiciled with department, agency, ministry, department, and agency, MDAs. I was also thinking to myself that is true. Where is our policies? Where do they put them? And this is another thing for Data for Good. How can we harness all the data of policies and use it to help people make informed decisions in their various sectors? So if there was a policy around startup, do you know about it? If there's a policy around education, do you know about it? Daniel was already giving us some of them today. Some of us don't even know that exists. But how can we put policies in that way and use it as data for good? Green Tech Leadership Program, which we're going to hopefully start next year, fingers crossed, to end the year with sort of like a green want people build solutions that are green focused. Digital Governance Lab, building civic tech solutions that works with the government. Echo Convention, the Echo Bank Initiative, and even the single currency simulation that we hope to be able to do with the African Union. You're in the right space. This is a place of legacy and vision. So welcome. The programs that are coming
are going to be fascinating. But it doesn't stop here. It starts with you. Every leader in Tech for Good Africa has shaped solutions. From Olamide shaping IWD for International Women's Day, she's like, we should not just let that day be. I want to do International Women's Day in tech. Some of our past leaders have come and said, I want to do ESG in tech. You can come here today and tell us, you know what, I have an idea as an ambassador to shape this solution, and I trust me, everybody will wrap around you as a community to make sure that that's a thing, as long as it's doing good or using technology to do good for the African continent. You are already a Tech for Good Africa ambassador. So as you finish this now, you will get a badge. Looking as cool as I am here, with a badge that's, but as you become an ambassador, one thing you must hold on is that you must have your PVC. I don't even know why I said that or came up with that. That was random. I just came up with it now. But you must become a person of passion and vision to see Africa where tech is doing good for the people, the market women. I used to always say something. If the technology you are building or the technology you are learning or the technology you are creating or doing is not solving your village people's problem, throw it away. Passion and vision is what we want you to become, and you are already that because you're already on this call. So, what's your journey? Join us, build with us, lead with us. You are now a Tech for Good Africa ambassador. The journey begins with you getting your identity on the Echo platform. It begins with you understanding that you are now an ambassador. Then it begins also or continues on with you taking actions with us. I've showed you some of the actions that we're doing, some of the things you can participate in. And then knowing that this thing you're doing creates impact. Knowing that we start with impact first, but then that impact should be your first thinking so that you create your identity and take actions from it. It's a circular motion when it comes to impact. Together, we can create a new economy for leadership and innovation. It starts as a Tech for Good Africa ambassador. You join a thematic area, whichever one you choose. You can be part of all of them. Receive your badge, register on the Echo platform, and progress to becoming a leader and even a partner. We want to see many of you owning your own business, doing jobs like working in Datalium like Ruth, or building businesses like Daniel with VacityScape, and coming back to partner with us again to say, I know what Tech for Good Africa is doing. I want to go back and fund them. I want to go back there and become a leader and mentor some people. I want to go back there. We want you to grow from being an ambassador, having a mindset, growing to becoming a leader in it and understanding what it's really about, and then coming back to partner to make sure that there's more ambassadors. The more we continue to do this, there will be a ripple effect that it's not about going to protest on the streets like Daniel was happy for us to go and do, but we are protesting internally and shaping our mindsets. There are millions of us across different countries in Africa. You cannot stop or bring in any tech that's not solving our local problem. You will bring tech in and the people will be like, no, we're ambassadors for Tech for Good Africa here. We don't take nonsense in you bringing all your Silicon Valley. We are the valley of technology. So become an ambassador. Tell your friends about being an ambassador to Tech for Good Africa. Move on to becoming a leader. Partner with us to transform Africa. Don't forget there's more sessions happening. There's next 4 going on. And you need 3 to become a Tech for Good Africa ambassador, right? Am I right, guys? If your leadership team, please let me know. You need 3 to become the next. So join that session. Thank you so much, Tammy, our community manager. He's always ready to answer me. Invite others to this community. Share what you've learned today. Tag us on LinkedIn. Be loud about what you're doing in Tech for Good Africa. We are loud about it. We believe together we can power Africa's journey through technology, through sustainability, and civic innovation. So don't dull. Join now. This is the space. Let's also create a space where everyone can lead together. I'm very passionate about this part, where everyone leads together and there's no one big guy in the top. I'm not the guy or the guy at the top. I'm just creating a space where you can be a leader with me. Aramide can be a leader with me. Olamide can be a leader with me. Temi can be a leader with me. I want to mention everybody's name as much as I can see. Afolabi can be a leader with me. Awa can be a leader with me. Daniel can be a leader with me. Emmanuel, 2 Emmanuels, Adebayo, interesting, I don't know if they're the same people, can be a leader with me. Gideon can be a leader with me. James can be a leader with me. Oluwaseyi can be a leader with me. Ruth can be a leader with me. Temi Oluwa can be a leader with me. And Ugochi can be a leader with me. This is that space. So thank you, everyone. Sorry that we went past time. We thought that this time we will not past the 1 hour 30 minutes. We tried to even reduce it because we got all your feedback last week, but we still did the 2 hours and did 5 minutes to the 2 hours. But thank you so much for staying with us. And I hope that you enjoyed our space, and I hope that you can come help us create more of this space. God bless you all. Welcome, ambassadors, to Tech for Good Africa. Over back to you, Olamide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for staying on right to the very end. And as a way of being a responsible society, we've taken the first step. This push it forward sometime next week and try to hit the 90-minute mark. But if you're being honest, from the Singapore video and the stories to realizing that one generation was all it took Singapore to transform their country's fortune, and to the statistics of how many universities we have in Nigeria as opposed to like an India with thousands of universities, and then the numbers with the generation of revenue for the United Kingdom. These were insights from Daniel, and also just hearing Ruth share so passionately and inspiringly so, and also from Miss, well, okay, now I'm stumbling on my words because I'm wondering to say President or Samuel. But you've heard the entire journey. So right now, we will crave that everyone drop their email address in the chat, just so you definitely get that feedback and assignment form. And really, it's us learning, doing, and creating, because education that you get and never implement doesn't transform you. So let's have that at the back of our minds as we go through the rest of the week till next week. Okay, so yes, he is president. So please drop your email addresses on the chat. Thank you so much. And now is the time for us to take our family group pictures as we usually do. So if you could kindly turn on your camera, and we'll have the president just coordinate that in the last 1-2 minutes we have. And let's also remember to drop your email address in the chat. All right, Gochi, Aramide. Hi, James. Thanks for having your video on. Emmanuel, we're waiting on your video.
Use AI. Gucci, good to see you. Hey, hi, James. Good to have you, James. Okay, where are the manuals? Yes, Daniel. Daniel, I don't know where you are, but this place looks like one of those places from the House of Guinness show that I'm watching. It looks like one of those British houses where I don't. The background is fire. Well done, Daniel. Okay, is this everyone? Guys, we need some more faces now. We need some faces. I'm waiting for you guys so I can take this photo. I can't take photo with all these. Guys, turn on your camera.
Give me Laliwa, Ramide.
My place is dark.
We actually have just 1 minute left.
No light here. Okay, guys, let's just take this one as we're here. All right, a big smile. Ugochi, your smile for me. I love it. Thank you so much, everyone. I took the photo. Ugochi's smile is the best. Love it, Ugochi. Well done.
Also reach out.
An award.
You deserve an award for this smile, I'm telling you.
We would reach out to Emmanuel, Daniel, Shay, anyone who's happy to record a video and just talk to your experience so far in the sessions. And let's also put out the flyer on our socials, invite more people to join in. So we'll look to do some more marketing and just have more people. I welcome back Gideon, be a part of the goodness and actually the learnings, because they're fire. All right, till next week. It's good night. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Hi, Emmanuel. Please, can you drop your mail?
I don't even know if Emmanuel is still here. I think he just put us on and just stayed smiling with his photo. Tammy, I'm about to end the meeting. Is that okay?
Yes. All right, sir. No problem, sir.
Thank
Good
you,
night, sir.
everyone.